All right, we're live. GMGAG, everybody. Welcome to what's going to be another great DevNTell. So, if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute window for builders to showcase something they've been building, and this can be an awesome project you've been working on, demonstrating unit testing best practices, automation goodies, smart contracts, how to structure a project, etc. Basically, if you've got a passion for something, this is your opportunity to share with the Web3 community. And I'm ecstatic to have back on after 1 year almost, Giancarlo. Welcome, my friend. Love to have you back on here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I guess for folks who didn't catch you the first time around back in 2022, do you want to give a brief little introduction about yourself, a little about your background, how you got into Web3, how you got into developer dev?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so my name is Giancarlo Sanchez. I'm a software engineer from Venezuela. I moved to Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, 2014. Started working for a small, at that time, startup called Glofox, building custom mobile solutions for the fitness industry, and then joined Amazon in 2017. First as an engineer, then transitioned as a manager, building basically my team owned the time off and absence division and services. And then basically on 2021, 2020, started participating in Web3 hackathons. My first hackathon on the Web3 space was the Morales first hackathon. I had the privilege of winning the hackathon and got excited about that, started figuring out opportunities. It turns out that last year, May last year, I decided to go full-time founder on a project that was creating basically template-based solutions for creating dApps because we saw that there's this lack of resources, a bottleneck on development and on the developer side. There's few developers just carrying the whole burden of creating smart contracts, infrastructure, dApps, UX, and it's just not scalable. So we wanted to kind of mimic what successful tools like Wix, Webflow managed to do, which is basically create this the citizen developer profile in which a citizen can come like they don't need to have the technical knowledge and just build software by just using composable modules using drag and drop and other means. And this is where we are now. We're on a second iteration. What we used to call last year Dapify is now Webstudio. And yeah, excited to be presenting this today.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah. Let's get right into it. I will bring up your screen here. You should be good to go.
Perfect. Yeah, guys. So we're building Webstudio. You can imagine this as the Wix of Web3. It's a no-code platform that leverages drag and drop Web3 native modules to create dApps, basically. So what we call websites 3.0 is kind of an attempt for us to onboard normies into the Web3 space by telling that you're going to be building your same exact websites, just leveraging decentralized technologies. At the end, our vision is users shouldn't need to know if you know what's the infrastructure that they being hosted, or they just care about the features, they just care about the benefits, they just care about the security. And as soon as long as we can provide all the details for them, the information, but then abstract them from the complexities, is where we're going. And that's where we're building with Webstudio. So the way that we envision this is that the no code tools is going to change the way in which we build Web3 software. uh, Mainly, there's three main problems that we want to tackle. The first one is a fragmented infrastructure stack on the Web3 space. We have a lot of infrastructure, we have a lot of networks, a lot of chains. We have a lot of tooling, infrastructure tooling. We have libraries, we have services that handle all kind of, from streaming payments, video, social, but they're fragmented. There's no clear, there's no way or streamlined way to just make them composable, interoperable into a simple solution, unless you have a kind of a very experienced developer. And what this brings is a poor UX overall. So what we see here is that we have so much infrastructure, but the amount of dApps that we release is very small. Like there's not that many good UX apps out there. And this is because what I mentioned before, there's a lack of developers. There's it's basically the universal bottleneck for software development, and in Web3 this is exacerbated. Like there's 40 million developers in the world. There's around 40,000 developers in the Web3 space only, on a market share of 3.2 billion. That's kind of a lot to ask for a small community of builders. And there's an opportunity that we see that no code offers a faster and cheaper alternative that lets anyone build anything. So this is where we're knocking the door. And the way that we're doing this is, well, okay, let's do that. Let's make it easy for people. The first thing we're doing is just creating pre-made templates. Pre-made templates that leverage Tailwind, so you don't need to think about the styles. Everything is kind of pretty much built in using Tailwind CSS. And we have Web3 native components, composable blocks, smart blocks, like something I imagine that you want to interact with a smart contract. You want to send a transaction, call a function a smart contract. You basically drag in the block, configure it, and then that's it. And the style, well, basically will tell we kind of make it easy. The second part is, which is something that is being built in progress, is the community marketplace of reusable plugins. These Web3 native composable blocks, the templates, we want to outsource them so that people can build their own blocks. People can build their own templates. They can monetize them within the platform, and then we can offer the end user a vast a vast selection of options for whatever they want to build. They want to build a marketplace. They want to build a link tree clone. They want to build a streaming site using decentralized technologies. They should be able to do it. And everything is built on a drag and drop experience that we mentioned before, like Wix, Webflow, Squarespace that they use. And we're going to be implementing an AI copilot to help there as well. Uh, this is kind of a video, but I'm not going to put the video. You can see it yourself in the presentation. What I'm going to jump is to the demo. So you can go to webstudio.so. And here, basically, you can just register yourself. And once you're registered, you'll be prompted to go into the studio, to the editor. What we're going to be building today is a very, very minimalistic, super simple example on how to build an NFT minting site on Girly Testnet. So here, for example, you can see my projects. We're going to just create a new one. We're going to call it DevNTell. This is going to be devntell.webstudio.so. And in here, we select our templates. So these are all Tailwind-based templates, like I mentioned before. Um, not a long selection, but our expectation is that when we open the marketplace, we'll see a lot more. And once here we have kind of our editor. So let's just do a few edits. Let's first sample developer logo. So let's just modify a little bit our site just to make it. We can change the image. We can use Tailwind for this, so rounded full. And let's mint NFT. We're just gonna remove this. So it's basically simple. There's a lot of components that we have here, from text to button, images, whatever you call. And then we have a Web3 section in which we have a Web3 button. This is kind of our latest addition to the stack. This allows you to call a specific function with pre-mapped variables. But if you want, for example, something more flexible, you can import the connect wallet button and then create your own form. So if you want to call a smart contract function that has 5 attributes, 10 attributes, then you can put them and map each attribute to a specific map each field to a specific attribute on the smart contract call. But we're just going to mint, so we're going to use our very basic component. So this opens up kind of a wizard. So in here is basically just selecting the network. So we support all EVMs. It includes testnets. The contract type, we can upload our own our own ABI, or we can just use a predefined one. For the exercise, we're going to be using a third web smart contract. Let's say, for example, that we want to launch our own NFT smart contract from here. You could do it here and say, well, yeah, I'm gonna kind of deploy my own contract. For the sake of this, we already deployed a contract. Let me connect my wallet. And we're going to be using this 721. So basically, just going back to the editor, we kind of paste our contract address. And then on the function, we select what function we want to call. In this case, we want to call the claim function. And here's the attributes, how they're mapped. So we can map specific attributes to either the user address or static value that we provide. And these are all the attributes that this ABI for this method requires and the pre-mapping. And then we can say, well, on the property side, the label that we're going to display, well, we're not connected. And whenever we are connected, then we're going to display int. And yeah, basically that's it. Then we can just publish. When we publish, basically these all get repacked and deployed to IPFS. So we can accept, for example, see it on IPFS here. Oh, well, we missed something. In order to get we can add a toast. So when we know when an interaction has been successful or not, for that we can just come here, toast, and add it to any part of the screen. And you're not gonna see it, but until the event happens. But yeah, then we can publish. And then again, like I mentioned before, we can see this on IPFS, which is deployed there. And likewise, we have kind of a visible on our subdomain. So in this case, it's DevNTell.webstudio.so. You can also have your custom domain, and so on. And then basically, it's just as simple as just connecting. We kind of link our address. We deploy it on Girly. So now you see that now it says mint. So we go click mint. We see the confirmation. Wait a second. We confirm. And and then we see the transaction down below without toast. So we can see here the pending transaction is Garlic testnet, so it's going to be a little bit slow. But as soon as it confirms, I'll go back to the screen just to confirm. But this is basically it. It's a very simple way of creating a good looking DApp, with functional components. So our transactions should be ready. Here it is, success. So we minted token 26. And like these, you can create any type of experience that you can imagine. So I'm just gonna come here. I'm gonna continue with the presentation. I want to show you a few use cases, a few good success stories that we built. Just notice that this last iteration that you're seeing, we launched it in April, so it's relatively new, and it's pretty much been my wife and I behind the wheel on this. So there's a lot of things that need to be improved, a lot of things but feedback is appreciated. I would love to hear what you guys think. But continue with our presentation then. The way we're seeing this is we kind of run a survey later last year. We found out that 83% of the Web3 builders that exist today don't have a technical background. And if you take into consideration there's 40,000 or so Web3 developers, and you're talking about almost 200,000 builders that are not served by comprehensive tools, no-code tools for them to do DIY solutions on the Web3 space. So it's a good opportunity, and it's growing. And we already have builders. There's a lot of things that are building today. Most of them kind of on the prototype MVP side, in which we want to take a step further and have these people build full solutions. For example, the ETH Dublin agenda was built using Webstudio. So you can go to, I think it's agenda.webstudio.so. And yeah, it's basically what we use for our first hackathon in Ireland, Web3 hackathon in Ireland on May. This was one of the projects that we built, that one of the groups built during ETH Dublin 2023. It's a kind of a Web3 renting site in which people can view properties and rent properties using Webstudio. This is Turtleneck, another project from ETHL in 2023, which is for sponsoring creators. So if you want to go to hackathons and you don't have the money to travel and so on, you can ask for a sponsor, and then if you win, you distribute the prizes across your across the people that participated in your sponsoring. Another one. This is not related at all to Web3. This is something that kind of not got our attention. This is not only a tool for Web3 enthusiasts, and you don't even need to know that there's Web3 technology behind this. And this is Geonity. It's a traditional landing page for an AS startup, and they're basically starting to scale this up, adding other functionalities for CMS. Uh, the Authenticator. This is my particular project that I built for Hackfest last week. I got a couple of bounties there, but it's a TOTP tokenizer, decentralized app. So basically, it stores tokens, it stores the one-time passwords, seeds on blockchain, and then you can basically generate them and receive them via push. And we launched on Product Hunt on May 27. The reception has been great. Again, we're super early, but we're excited to see what people think about what we're building. So far, it has been exciting. So we got fourth product Web3 of the month, third product of the day. We have 8 5-star reviews, over a 300. Oh, I think over 1,000 followers. No, actually over 300 followers on Product Hunt. And yeah, people are excited. There's obviously there are things that we need to build. There's a lot of things that we need to take care of, but the reception has been great, especially among explorers, Web3 builders, and hackathons. People that are trying to build, artists and community content creators. We've been growing. We have users all around the world, and that's a trend that since April we seen growing. For example, on April we had 256 registered users. On May 1.5, which was boosted both for participation in Product Hunt and as sponsors and not sponsors, as part of the team organizer of Eat Dublin. On June, the month hasn't ended yet, and we're also breaking another record. So the reception has been great, and not all of these are Web3 users. It's something that excites us because this is something that we're trying to break. We're all trying to lower the entry barrier for builders into the space, and as long as we only try to capture a name for Web3 enthusiasts and Web3 knowledgeable, savvy people, that's not ever going to happen. So we need to break the barriers, make it seamless for people, and just let them know, look, these are the benefits if you use our technology. How it's built behind it, we take care of that. How does it work? So there's two parts of this. There's the studio, the builder, and then there's the apps. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the builder. The builder is built on AWS. The way it works is basically it's a simple database with an API that allows us to store the content, and we use Graves.js for the drag and drop editor. It's a kind of a boosted version of Graves.js. I've modified it a lot. It's open source. If you go to github.com/webstudio.so, you'll see everything there from our SDK to our editor, front-end editor, the APIs, the lambdas, everything. It's a simple API that stores the configuration of what you're building on the front end. On the editor. Now, there's other things that happen here when you go to and this is something that happens on a AWS scope as well. You can go to your customdomain.com web2 domain, and you will get redirected to your IPFS address. You can go to yourproject.webstudio.so subdomain, and you will always be redirected to your IPFS, or you can go directly to IPFS. The bottom line is all the applications, when they're packed, they're compressed and deployed to IPFS, and then all the redirection that happens is towards the IPFS CID. So everything is involved there, images and media content, everything is deployed to IPFS. And then we use several gateways. In fact, we had an incident with the Morales gateway a few weeks ago. We had to change it, but yeah, I'll go over that later on. But that's basically the infrastructure on the studio. For the app side, then it looks something like this. You have your project, which is basically a folder of your index HTML, your other pages HTML, your JavaScript code, your CSS code, your images. That all gets packaged and deployed to IPFS under the same CID. And underneath the project, when it's when it's built, when it's deployed, we add a library, the WebStudio SDK library, which is also open source, and you can see the content of that. We have basically everything we need for the Web3 model, for authentication, third web SDK, Ether.js SDK, and Morales SDK. We're going to be adding Alchemy protocol, and that allows us to interact with all the EVMs and all the services that we need in the back while still being hosted on IPFS. You can override or own your keys to interact with the network. If you want even more decentralization, you own your own keys for the service. But technically, if WebStudio goes out of business, your application will still live there. And yeah. And yeah, well, my name is Giancarlo Sanchez, like I mentioned before, software engineer from Venezuela. Super excited to hear. And well, guys, this is a call to action to all of you. Go WebStudio SO, take it for a spin. Let me know what you think. This is something that we're super excited to be building, my wife and I. We see that it has a lot of it has a lot of potential to bringing in new builders with innovative solutions. So we stop seeing basically clones. Like today, every application is a clone of another. Every exchange is a clone of another. Every marketplace is a clone of another. Just because there's too few developers to build this, we want to just make this worldwide accessible for everyone, and that's our mission. Thank you, guys.
That's amazing, Giancarlo. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a tweet a few days ago from Nader Dabit who was saying that basically the same thing kind of that you said there. We're seeing repeated clones of things of infrastructure that we don't really need clones of, but we actually need usable applications by people. And I think this is one of those things that fits the bill exactly.
Yeah.
So that's amazing to see. Um, and just want to let people know, if you have any questions for Giancarlo, please post them in the chat here, and I will ask on your behalf. But in the meantime, I have a couple of questions of my own.
Yeah.
So the marketplace that you mentioned, can you elaborate a bit on it? How can people create components and upload them to your marketplace? And are there any restrictions?
Yeah, so
On
the marketplace is something that is kind of a work in progress. Let me walk you through. This is something that we're still looking for funding. This is something that we have planned for a roadmap this year. If you go to GitHub Web Studio and you go to projects and then open up the Web Studio project, you'll see all our technical roadmap for the rest of the year. This is what we built so far. This is what's coming, and this is what's in progress. This is all for the rest of the year. So this includes kind of transforming Web Studio into more of a CMS, adding dynamic collections, so you can create blogs, you can create kind of a what you call it, dynamic pages. You can create dynamic content that you pull in from an API or from a smart contract, and also kind of the marketplace, the basics, so that people can start uploading their modules and templates. So far, it's not there yet. We want to be the ones that build the first iteration of modules, and then expand this opportunity for other builders, and eventually in our second year from now, so 2024 at 2025, what we're aiming is just creating a DAO and creating a DAO so that the same community can work or can work around the curation of these modules. So we want to abstract ourselves from the creation of these templates of these modules, delegate that to the community, provide the mechanisms so that they can promote good actors and demote bad actors, and us just be super focused on the platform itself, on the core of the platform. So yeah, like to answer in a nutshell, it's not ready yet. Probably coming later this year, early next year.
Gotcha. Yeah, so folks, stay tuned for that. uh, and then is there? I'm just curious to see what was the reasoning behind going with IPFS for storage versus another, and do you have plans to expand that functionality to let people who care about where their thing gets deployed.
Yes, at the moment we're kind of still on an experimental basis. So we're building all these modules, these Web3 container composable modules. But our vision here is to make it modular at all levels. So one of the features that we're going to be adding then is whenever you're going to deploy, you specify what is the where do you want to deploy this? Do you want to deploy it on AWS? Do you want to deploy it on IPFS? Do you want to deploy it on Arweave? Do you want to deploy it somewhere else? Do you want to download the source code? Like this is something that are going to be several options that we're going to be providing as we go. We started with IPFS because at the time, well, first it was technically feasible. I had a lot of experience with IPFS. We also got sponsored by Protocol Labs for our accelerator last year. So we kind of took that and gained a lot of knowledge. We kind of optimized the approach to IPFS on how we deploy it. But we're looking into other alternatives that includes Arweave and Filecoin in the short term.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Awesome to hear. And I guess since your code is open source, is there an opportunity for folks who might be interested, who are on this, who are viewing this, to be able to pick up a issue or help out to build it? How can people get involved if they're interested?
Yeah, of course. Look, the instructions should be super clear on the README. If not, please kill me. But here you can spawn your own, your own web studio and just take it for a spin locally. And yeah, I mean, get in touch with me through Twitter or through my email or whatever means you have. We'll collaborate. I'm super open to this. One of the things that we're trying to do is also build in public. So we want to attract developers to collaborate with this. We want to see in which directions they would like to see this going, and we're open to that. We're super receptive to that. We have a few other things that we want to share with the community, with the developer community especially, which is basically every time that we run into an issue, hopefully not many, but for example, we had our first outage a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of posted the whole thing on Twitter. This ended up as a COE. A COE is a mechanism that we used to use in Amazon for correction of error, in which you specify what was the incident, how did it happen, what was the infrastructure like, what was the timing of the incident, how did you figure it out, and so on. And basically, you end up asking yourself 5 questions: Why did this happen? Why that? Why that? Why that? So you basically define what are the mechanisms to make sure that this doesn't happen ever again. I wrote all this, went through that exercise because I love that way of thinking, and we came off with some mechanism that we also added to our technical roadmap. It's available here, so if you want to check it, just go to Twitter and see our technical documentation there. We also have a technical uh, we have our technical dashboard for also, if you scroll down on the website, and you see operational metrics dashboard. It's kind of a CloudWatch AWS for all the metrics that I'm currently tracking. Because I'm on call 24/7, so I need to be aware of what's happening and so on. So this helps me track what incidents, what major incidents happen, how is the traction going, and so on. So feel free to just look at that. If you have any questions about the source code, the metrics that we're using, the services, let me know. Let's schedule a call and I'll jump with you and walk you through on how it works.
That's awesome. That's awesome to see. And yes, I've had to write a couple of those same style of docs on call support. So I know what you went through. But unfortunately, that brings us to time here. Just want to thank you again so much for coming on, Giancarlo, and really excited to see this product of yours, Webstudio, sorry, continue to grow as the year goes on, and look forward to you potentially coming back on once you have the marketplace stuff up and running.
Oh, count on that. Count on that. No, man, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for for the space. Thank you for what you're doing. This is a great space for to showcasing products and getting in touch with the developer community. So thank you for this, man.
My pleasure. And for our folks that have stayed on until this point, here is the maybe if I remove this. Here's the QR code for you to scan and claim your Mint kudos for watching DevNTell today. So what you want to do is you want to take out your regular QR code scanner on your phone, scan this QR code, and you'll have up to 1 hour from now to claim your Mint kudos for being an attendee today. So again, pull out your regular QR code scanner, scan this code, and claim your kudos within the next hour. And with that, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Friday, happy weekend, and that we'll see you back here next week. All right, gang, all the best.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Nar. Bye bye.
My pleasure. See ya.